You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Bar Rescue After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Bar Rescue After Show.
If you get in trouble, bring it home to me.
Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to AfterBuzz and Bar Rescue Season 3, Episode 15, Grow Some Meatballs. I'm Dorinda Barker, your host, along with Keven Undergaro.
Hello, Dorinda. Very well done.
Why, thank you. I'm very nervous. And a special co-host that's back again, and I'm so excited. Miss Mia Mastroianni.
Hooray! Yay! Thanks, Dorinda. I'm so happy to be back.
Thank you. So, all right, let's talk about this episode. Family drama, man. We've had some family drama, but I think this one takes the cake tonight as far as drama. These people were amazing. And there wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, because there was so much going on. There was no real recon. Like, no one went in.
Because the drama went so long.
There was no reason for anyone. I couldn't believe it. So basically, they hired their whole family. So the brother and the sister, Mike and Diane, and I in my head kept saying Jack and Diane.
I've been singing all day a little ditty about Mike and Diane.
Exactly. And so they buy the bar, and they bought it in 2003. Then they hired the father, Pops, which I liked, and
That was best move.
yeah, because Pops was no joke, and they were making $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Basically. And then it just got to be too much for them because they kept getting busier and busier. So then they hired on their family. So they hired on their god brother, which I've never heard of such a thing.
I didn't either, but I kind of liked it.
And I'm Irish Catholic. You would think I would know. And then, then their cousin, which she was a wreck. No
Security.
offense. Yes. Oh, and Connie. She's my favorite, though. I have to say, she's up there on one of the best characters we've seen in a while. So they're in so John and Phil and Brendan. So we had Brendan Collins back, who we've seen a couple times, and Phil Wills, bar expert. They're in the car watching this all go down. And these people cannot, it's almost like they let the inmates run the asylum. Actually, they did. It's not like they did. They did let the inmates run the asylum. They could not get along. They were fighting with each other. It was, I want to go into like the whole kitchen thing because that.
Don't even worry. You've got so much to get to.
There's so much.
You know, the problem here was nobody had Diane's back.
Well, that would be Diane's argument.
Exactly. I've never met such a martyr in my life. Well, I didn't meet her.
way,
Sorry, I watched a martyr in a
I've
life.
met plenty of
Well,
them.
yeah. But
Just all the dysfunction was there. I'm sure alcohol plays a role in it as well. We've seen it time and time again, but it was a merry-go-round. It was it was a family dynamic I've seen many times.
yes, I've
where
seen.
she went from martyr, then to victim, then to. I mean, she was running this like the 8th grade newspaper. It was run like a. You know what I mean? It was run
You're
like.
saying it a lot nicer than what I was just going to say.
That was
Well,
amazing.
say what you're gonna say.
I was going to say it was like her own telenovela. Like, it's seriously.
But it was a little friendship club. That's all
Yes,
it was.
See,
yeah.
the thing with her was that she didn't want anyone to dislike her, and she avoided all of the confrontation.
Again,
Whenever
you-
Pops got mad and the aggression came out, she would just.
But what happens with people like that is dad and brother are always going to be there.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. You don't know that this bartender or this cook or this person, you can't count on them to always be there. So what happens with a lot of dysfunctional people is they crap on the people they're closest to because they know they'll never leave, but then they want to be hero and they want to be super popular to those other people. You know, I did business with somebody when I first, my first film, it almost ruined my entire life. The person I was with, only concern, being popular. That was it, just to be popular and to be, and it is a recipe for disaster. You can, if being popular somehow translates into dollars, great. But it can't, it's in any life, let alone business, it's just no way to live. But she just wanted to be popular with everyone else in 8th grade. And then when everyone else from 8th grade didn't have her back, and by the way, all just based on narcissism, you know that.
Oh, yes.
I mean, incredibly narcissistic.
And the money all over the bar, like you're in debt for $200,000.
$1,600.
$1,668. I was like, you could have used that for something.
I'm sure there's some bill somewhere.
Exactly. I'm sure there's a late fee. You didn't have to put a late fee on if you just would have taken it off your bar.
There was just so much deflection. Then, and I see a lot of people do this too. So when the dad was being yelled at, she jumped in and screamed at John to protect the dad, but all that was...
Which was unnecessary to begin with, because they weren't even having a beef. Like,
But you understand, you guys, just so you're younger, like that's deflection. That's to get the attention off of her and all the mistakes and the shortcomings. You do that, and then also it's again her being narcissistic. It's her standing out, her being the hero, her being the heroine. I'm sticking up for that right man complex. I'm sticking up for my dad. Well, how can you argue that? She's on paper. I'm sticking up for my dad. So how do you argue with someone? My poor old father's here being yelled at by John Taffer, and I'm standing up for him. So you can't really.
I'm going to come to the rescue.
That's what I mean, and you can't. But this personality type comes up with these arguments that are so foolproof that you really can't argue. How do you argue with a woman who's sticking up for an older father who's being bullied and yelled at?
Well, you don't argue about that, but you have to look at the bigger picture. Apparently, this woman had written to the show 5 times to get on Bar Rescue. She's been giving the opportunity. Here it is, and should rather deflect.
Like everybody, everyone in life, we get hosts at AfterBuzz, the same thing. How do I host Entertainment Tonight? Just get me that job. So come in and just fix my bar. No, there's a lot of work we're going to have to put in, and it's going to be painful, and it's not going to be fun. But no, she's, again, just a young 8th grader, an 8th grade mentality. Doesn't see the work that has to be put in. Just, come in for 3-4 days and, give me a $2 million makeover and we're good.
Yeah, and then you guys can go on your way, and then I can just have my clubhouse back, but better and new.
Right. Yeah.
And all the cool kids will come.
Exactly, because it's going to be great. But she had a cast of characters. I got to give her that. I mean, she had Robert, her godbrother. I'm going to bring it back to Robert. First of all, she goes in there and starts counting money on the cutting board. I was so grossed out. Okay, us, and you've worked in the business too. And even I've never not cut money, but counted money.
Well, money's known to be very clean.
Yeah.
I am.
Do you have any idea how filthy money is? It's one of the most
gross.
It's one of the most
so
underrated, germ carriers. But anyway.
And then so she does her thing, and then Robert comes in, and I was like, this is the perfect setup. He comes in and he's carrying the lemons. I'm like, this is what's gonna happen. I just see it already. It's like bam, bam, bam. Oh, this is so gross. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And then he cuts chicken right afterwards. Well, at least he cut the lemons first, because then that just cleans everything. See, that was like...
Okay, but here's the thing. The cutting board wasn't clean to begin with. As John pointed out from the SUV, you could see dried blood on the side of the cutting board. So you question how long has that cutting board been?
And by the way, everything was frozen there. So where was...
Where did the chicken come from?
Yeah, the chicken. Where was the blood coming from? Because everything was frozen.
You've stumped me.
I was like, it grossed me out even more.
I hate the fact that with AfterBuzz, we have to, this show we get a little bit of downtime just because of my schedule, the way it's been. But normally we only have 15 minutes. But I swear if I had more time, I had this vision of having Steven come in and mirror the dance of the bar patron that, and he had the black shirt.
That was amazing.
And he had even. I wanted Steven to go buy that shirt from us with the red letters. I'm sorry I'm having a brain freeze because of one of the longer days I've had in Hollywood today. But last night the guy had a great thing. What did it say on his shirt?
I can't remember.
Right? Did you see him?
I was covering my face.
Okay.
He was grinding in that woman.
But that dance,
It was embarrassing.
No, but his dance alone, the dance he did alone by the DJ, the one DJ stand, yes. And I said, oh my God, we're totally gonna make Steven do that dance
and then
on the
when
stage.
He takes his blah blah out, and
Yes, he was amazing.
Oh, I was like, that did not just happen. And then Connie, our security,
Who's doing her nails over there?
she's like this on her phone.
And credit to 3-Ball and the editors of this, okay, because did you see the shot of her lapping the side of the drink?
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to miss anything.
And like they were doing like the sound effect too.
Yes,
I was like, it was awesome.
Really great work. Absolutely
Well played.
Hilarious.
They actually had some really good sound effects tonight for the first time, and like we'll get into all that too. But oh my God, the fight breaks out. Mike then Pops has to then break it up, and that's when he leaves, and John goes and finds him, and then they come back in, and she does her whole, you don't talk to my dad like that.
Let's back up a little bit. You know, when I saw the dad do this, and again, I have the experience of shooting a reality show, so I know. And the reality show that we do, Chasing Maria, has Maria's mom and dad who are even more removed from Pops because they're immigrants. So English, they still think in English, they still think in Greek, they dream in Greek. They're not that prolific with the language. They're not they're not educated beyond high school. And my point is, they don't know how to be actors. So that's why when you see our show, that's why people I think like it, because it's very real. And looking at Pops and this family, there's no actors here. So when people always say, "Oh, how much is staged and how much," you couldn't get that kind of performance.
That's not a performance.
That was not a performance out of Pops. That was a guy who was frustrated. He was at the end of his rope. He was very passionate about his kids and about the business. And we've already talked about the daughter. The son was in the middle. You could see.
Yeah.
But again, it's like I laugh at people who say, "Oh, the shows are cooked." It's like, guys, you can't get that kind of performance out of unprofessionals.
No, and then. No, you can't.
Performers, I mean,
no,
non-professional
you can't. And here's the thing, and John, we've talked to John about this plenty of times, is those cameras are there for 48 hours even before. And so you forget about them. If they're there, you forget that they're even there. So it just becomes you and you doing your everyday thing. And you doing your everyday thing is that amazing. And I don't mean that in a good way.
It's 100% what you're saying, Dorinda. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's all right.
But I mean, if I look at this, if I were producing this show, I think all I would say to the bar owners and the staff is, listen, be yourselves, but whatever problems there are, if we see them, it's really how we're going to fix things. It's also going to make the most compelling hour. Okay, which is going to make your bar more popular, make people root for you more. We've just done so many of these. So we're not saying to do something stupid or, throw yourself through a window or, but just let it ride. Be who you are, because if you try to just behave and be quiet for the cameras, I'm going to take everything out of here, because that's not what you sent us on the tape. Because whatever tapes these guys have vetted, the casting people, they clearly saw drama and they saw problems.
Well, I think that the glaringly obvious thing here was the family drama and the fact that they couldn't communicate with one another. Like, there was no clear communication. There was no management. There was no communication with the staff or family, whatever it was. It was like everyone just kind of came in and did their own thing and tried not to make waves, and then Pops would get angry and...
It was pretty crazy to me. And even then you throw in that cousin Christina, which they should have put more of her in, because I think there was something underlying there.
Yes.
There was something going on there. And then her doing the jello, not the body shots. And I was not mad at that man taking off his shirt. I'm just going to tell you. I was like, okay. But then, Pops got mad and got him off the bar. But for you to be that part, to actually, you're not a beach bar. You're not a college bar. You're not any of those bars. And if you have to get down to the point that you have to do body shots at this point, then you really have sunk to the bottom.
You're a DMV bar.
Yeah.
So a DMV bar.
What it was.
Yeah.
Because all you saw was the.
I really enjoyed that. I can only imagine the drive-by.
I agree.
They should have actually just kept it as the.
I agree with you about Christina. I think there was more to her, but I think we ran out of time.
Yeah, because I
think if it was an hour and a half show, you probably would have seen more of her.
Exactly, because you're rooting for Pops, and then they come back into the bar, and then what he says about her, get that
By the
out
way,
of here.
I have to say, Zuzi, I want to hire Zuzi.
Oh, she was
the only one that was behind the bar that knew how to make a
How
drink.
great would it be if we just walked in, Mia, and we totally upgraded Zuzi's game and said, Zuzi, you know what? Enough being in the minor leagues. We're bringing you to Soho. Why are you laughing? She was really, but
She was good. I feel like
and her attitude. I mean, first of all, to get John a compliment from John and who was the guest expert bartender?
Phil Wills.
Phil Wills. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's
I
the
get
one who got
excited when he
sick.
comes on. He's
He's the one that got sick.
He did recon and got sick off the beer.
Remember?
The
And then he
contaminated beer taps.
couldn't even do anything the whole show. The whole time you're looking at him, he's like,
He's a stud.
Poor guy.
He's a stud. He's articulate. His hands. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And he does flair. I love that they were able to showcase a little bit of flair in this, where he got
Yeah.
to shine and doing the stuff that he does.
because that's what
when he
he's
was doing
known for, right?
Yeah.
But that's
his thing.
interesting. I wonder when we'll get into trying to teach flair. We've never taught flair.
Well, I think part of the thing it's like they try to showcase. I get this sense with different chef experts and bar experts that they want you to feel comfortable and bring your strengths to what you do. Like, I'm very clean and organized, and I'm very systematic about the way I set up my bar and 10 bar, and I can teach technique fairly well, but I don't do flair. I do little things with flair. I can flame a citrus peel and poof, flame, fire. Oh, people get excited about that. I use eggs and egg whites in my drinks, and that's always a conversation starter for anybody sitting at the bar being like, she's cracking an egg in that tin. What are you making? What are you doing with that egg? So it's like little things like that. But in terms of the bottle flipping and the juggling and the 3 drinks at once, and I mean torching, that's a whole different
did we
spectacle.
see Zuzi pour the? Didn't you see? She did one pour of shots with all the
Oh yeah,
bridge of glasses.
she was great. I think even Christina actually did it too. I think at the end.
Yep.
So by the end, those girls were doing all that, which is fantastic, and I was impressed.
I was too.
I was truly impressed with them. But she was holding it down, even in the beginning. And she'd been there 13 years.
Yeah. But you could see it after they promoted her to be bar manager, and then like when she came back, her instinct was to get back there and bartend again, and she
Yeah.
was digging them out when they were getting weeded again, because that's where she's comfortable. But I think, I think she's going to step into that power position.
We got to get her to Soho. No, I really did. I was looking at it. I said, geez, if I ever needed a bartender here, I would. She was great. She was a
great.
good bartender, but she had a great attitude. And to be there for 14 years, through all that, it says something about somebody.
It says a lot.
It says a ton about somebody. And she didn't look old. She didn't look
haggard.
No,
or
she didn't look haggard. No.
I feel that place could have done that to you. And I mean that in the nicest ways. I mean that in nice ways. So now there we are. They're back in the bar, and now they're fighting, and now they're done. Okay, so we talked about that. We're all over the place tonight, so sorry about that. Okay. So the next day, John comes back. But before that, they weren't able to get behind the bar because there was so much family drama. So they couldn't see what was going in the bar. They could not see what was going on in the kitchen. Oh, and because they just couldn't do it because there was too much soap opera going on. So they go back there and they all start talking. And once again, Diane is like, I want to apologize. And then she starts going off on everybody.
And passing out balls.
Yeah. She tells him, grow a pair of balls, basically, and starts basically giving him frozen meatballs.
Oh my God.
And then throwing them at
That
them.
was a gem.
I was like, amazing.
And then they had the shot of them rolling on the floor.
I was like, First of all, what would make you go, I'm going to go get a bag of frozen meatballs and I'm just going to hand them out to people and tell them grow a pair of balls? That's
Again, 8th grade.
that is true. She could have hurt somebody because I'm sure they were frozen. But hey, whatever. That's all I was thinking. As long as she didn't like throw them at someone's head, we're good.
Those are really small meatballs, by the way. If she wants them to grow a pair of balls, just
I
say
know.
they're really small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Roy, so you saw it.
Oh yeah, we watched it together.
Nice. You know what's really cool? Santa Clarita is not far away. We're totally field tripping. If I
Okay.
wasn't so busy, I had planned when I saw the episode. I was like, I can work it out on my day to go by there before tonight, and then today just was a
Why
cluster.
don't we?
cluster.
I really want to go up there.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm totally going.
Okay,
I'm down.
We have to go there. We'll bring like a camera or something with us so we can film it and then like show a little. Whatchamacallit. By the way, I'm getting off. But you were in New Orleans and you were over at
Yeah, do we
Brad's.
want to get into that now?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. To get into Brad's place. But okay, so all right. So then they bring in. So all this atrociousness happens because that's what I wrote is atrociousness. With the family, Mike runs out.
Yeah,
She
you
goes.
again. You can see the pattern of probably what's always gone on
Yeah.
with them.
It's like she freaks out. He says he's done.
She's a brat.
Yeah.
Gets disciplined, then turns it around to become the victim to deflect,
Yeah.
and then he just walks out. This boy, and I bet you anything that's the dynamic, and then they all come back together and cry and get back. It's called the merry-go-round. They all get back on the merry-go-round, and the merry-go-round doesn't stop until someone steps off the ride, because that's what throws off the dynamic. And again, it's a behavior most addict families. I'm not saying they're necessarily addicts, but it's a dysfunctional behavior, and John is the one to stop the ride. You
Yeah.
know, and usually when you stop the ride, they hate it. Because
Oh,
everyone's used to
yes.
the ride. You're used to the
Yeah.
ride for how many...
It's what's comfortable.
Yes. So John stops the ride. Like, okay, enough with this.
Yeah, and it was maddening. I mean, I've worked in bars before with a family, and I've talked about this particular family I worked for, and they were crazy town too, where I watched the brother deck the other brother and knock him out on the dance floor. Like, stuff like that. But this, I think, topped even that.
And by the way, a typical
just-
John to give us the great stat of,
Yeah.
I didn't know this, so what is it, 60%?
90% of businesses are started by families. 60% of them fail because they're families.
Yeah.
Because of the dynamic does not work.
It's very interesting.
And it's true. I mean, think about it. You see all these, there's so many businesses that are started by families, but the ones we even see, how do they make it work? And so John actually went in and talked to them, had to sit down with the three of them and talk to them and say, this is what we need to do to make this work. And then Pops, got all emotional and said that he
Poor
would.
guy.
I know.
Pops is my favorite.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's all right. And so he goes in and they talk and make sure, hey, I'm going to communicate better with you. She said, I'll communicate better with, and it on top, and they're all going to communicate better. So that seemed like it worked out. And then they brought Doc in, our security guy, for Connie. So they bring in the stunt guys. By the way, my favorite part.
I loved that.
They need to do that. We're off
Another
to...
great bar rescue twist.
Exactly, because that
Like,
has never
let's
been
just
done
have
before.
a brawl. And
Didn't
they
see it
brawled.
coming.
And they
Oh,
brawled. Did
that
you
guy's
see?
shirt got ripped. They were fighting. And what about Connie's security is wearing heels? By the way, those shoes. Oh, please. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. She has her little high heels and she's just running around
I
them.
would talk to them nicely.
I would talk to them nicely.
Okay.
Oh, and he's
Can
in
you
the
guys
face.
understand? We're on how many episodes of this show? You guys, this is not 12 episodes a season.
We're in 40 something.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in
So to
46
be-
episodes, 47.
To
now.
be this highly engaged and entertained this late, and coming off what we came off of last week, and then with Maria and
the
I,
week
but
before.
the week before. I mean, this is really an achievement in production. I'm just saying.
It's amazing.
They're keeping
is-
it fresh.
Yeah, I was like, it's crazy how they can just keep it going, because a lot of times, you get into doing like, now they got another 4th season, 20 more episodes, and every time it's a little different, and that's what keeps you.
Yep.
That's what keeps you.
Right.
So.
And by the way, and it's John. If you take John out of this equation, and I'm telling you, you're not going to want to see it because
No.
everyone's a parody. Gordon doing the restaurant show, awesome, but in the food space, I just see all these other guys as parodies, and so with John, he's the presence, the knowledge, the passion, the stuff he figures out, the intricacies. You're not going to find anyone else. And so don't even try. I'm just telling you, if you're Spike or 3-Ball, don't even try. Just move on and find another show.
Yeah.
Because you see when you get, I've heard people catching contract out. I'm a huge Corolla fan, but it feels so much softer because I watch it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it as well, but it's much calmer and slower, and it's still good, but it's nothing like this.
No.
And by the way, and we're talking about one of the top 1% talents in our business with Adam. You're talking about one of the greatest comedic minds in our business, and he's such a unique voice. I mean, he's so know that and yet it's like when you butt it up against this show with John, and it's nice that to watch that afterwards. I can take a breath. My half hour, I've got that. I'm texting in the background. I'm watching it. It's fine. It's nice, but it's nothing like this.
No, nothing at all. And then we go into stress tests. And Robert is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Duct tape all over his shirt.
Yes.
Did you see the
Yeah,
duct tape?
I did see the duct tape.
And
So
not unlike one thing, but they duct taped over his entire
joking.
shirt. Which, by the way,
Turn it inside out. Get a new T-shirt. I don't know. Just duct tape it.
No, I love the wearing the duct tape of shame. It's so much better.
It was awesome.
So much better.
Awesome. So then they're in the kitchen. He can't cook a burger to save his life. Like, if his life was on the line, he would have been dead.
The frozen burgers that they were just hawking like hockey pucks.
Yeah, so you have the frozen burgers, the look on Brandon's face. I was like, are you kidding me? Am I really sitting here right now, like, having to deal with this right now? And things are coming. Like, they're not even going out. So your stuff isn't going out. The stuff that is going out is now coming back, and it's raw in the middle.
That burger was
raw. Like, raw. So it's coming back. All of a sudden, a grease fire starts. Mm-hmm. And they had no idea what to do.
And I'm yelling at the TV because I've seen so many of them.
Yeah. He's like, go get the salt, get the salt. Meanwhile, the other ones are just standing there, and Brendan's the only one doing anything.
But Brendan, I mean, what I took away from watching that is that he maintains such a sense of calm and composure, where it's like anybody else could flip out. And grease fires are no joke. I mean, we're laughing about it because it made for very
good TV.
Entertaining TV. But that is a really scary situation to be in. And there's a lot of people in that kitchen. There's no windows in that bar.
Nothing.
I mean, that was really scary.
Yeah.
And John was saying, this could escalate. Guys, this could escalate. And I mean,
the instinct is usually to put water on it, which people do, which just spreads it.
Yeah, because you shouldn't do that.
I mean, what I would have done, is I wouldn't have access to salt. Let's say in the carny business, we did fried dough, and we did French fries and things like that. But more for me was fried dough. I made more money in fried dough, so I didn't have a lot of salt. And what I would have done is I would take a towel, and I'd make it damp, just damp, not soaking wet. And then you got to go in and pat it down. You got to just pat it down. And but it went into once it gets into
it was in the trap.
Once it gets into the funnel,
so forget about it.
Gets in the exhaust, you're done.
Yeah, and that's what was happening.
I would have I think I would have cut the gas. Again, the carny.
I mean, you heard them say that though. And he was like, the first thing you have to do, you shut off the gas.
Yeah,
and then
because he even said, John, I think we need to be done.
Yeah.
You hope it burns itself out, but what? It's so one fire extinguisher, by the way.
The first one
in the carny business always happens. Like, it's always the dead fire extinguisher.
God they had a second one.
So
I was scared.
There might not have been another if they didn't have a second.
By the way,
fire extinguisher.
Roya.
Yes.
Roya, will you? You need to remember this, and you guys are always good when I give you these specific tasks. You need to talk to Joe Gear, who stars on our reality show, and you need to tell him he needs to check all the fire extinguishers here at AfterBuzz.
Got it.
I mean that actually, because that's what usually happens. It's like it happens to anybody.
It's one of those things that you don't go for until you need it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it happens to even the best of businesses where people neglect it and then they expire or that it loses its charge and then you're done.
Yeah, but I remember when I was a kid, is the firemen used to come to the house and check your extinguishers, check the house to
Wait.
make sure.
Come to your house?
Yeah.
If
Where did you
No,
live?
no. If you need a permit.
Mayberry.
No.
Carteret, New Jersey.
If
Really
you need,
not.
when you need a fire permit, he'll come by and do that, but you don't always have that.
Yeah, you would have that little decal in the window to say that you've been like.
I mean, that was a good,
Yeah.
but that was you guys just, your parents being responsible and calling the
Yeah,
fire department in.
probably.
Normally,
That's what it would've
but for business, if you could apply for a fire permit and they'll come and do that, or you might have inspections, but you can't count on that.
No, you can never count on any of that stuff. But that
So-
was just.
So they went for the second one, but who would have thought it would would have become that smoky?
Once again, thank you, Three Ball,
Best.
for the
Best.
sound effects. It was almost like you were like in the middle
Did you see how
of
much
like.
smoke?
It was so much smoke.
It was so much smoke, but the way they made John's voice like echo and everything, I was
It was
like,
a great
it was-
editing.
Oh, awesome. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm in that really bad, like, what is it, Ladder 47 ride over here? Like, oh, this is awful. These poor people. And everyone had to leave. So there you go. There's the
There's the
stress
shut
out.
it down. You don't have a
That's
choice.
it. No.
Yeah. He didn't even have to say shut it down
Didn't
because
have to
It was
say
an emergency situation.
exactly everyone needs to go. Everybody needs. It was just crazy, and the bar really wasn't holding up to its end anyway. So it actually worked out well for the bar that the place went on fire.
That was a first, wasn't it?
I don't think we've had a fire before.
Not that big, no.
No. I mean, we've had places where they actually had to take an extra 5 days. J.A. Murphy's, because the place was actually going to cave in.
It was gonna collapse.
It was going to collapse. But yeah. So then they come back the next day, and there's a new fryer, thanks to John. Wait, they fire Robert. She fires Robert, which I was very surprised.
But okay, great.
After that,
Right, but again,
Had to almost
Again.
to almost take away her
No.
livelihood.
but the way she did was awful. Like she went from, all she had to say was, listen, if she were really that close with this guy, it's like, okay, you see where we're going, you see where this really isn't working. We love you, you're great, but for the sake of the business, for my family, we have to make a change. That's not what she said. She was like, again, just 8th grade. You're kicked out of Glee Club. Get out.
Get out.
I've got my ball. Go home.
Be gone with you, sir.
Yeah. I mean,
She was done. She was so done with her, and so done with him. And then she thought it was all once again about her. But it's not about her.
my God.
It's about the situation. God darn it.
I was actually kind of upset that they didn't get to do the bar inspection and the kitchen inspection leading up to that, because that's actually my favorite
There was
part.
no time.
I know, but
There was
I mean,
no time.
my
but he
favorite
did
thing to do is be unleashed behind a bar that isn't mine and find all the gross stuff. And I feel like we would have had some
Oh,
really
there would've
great
been
surprises
some-
back
Listen,
There
there.
would've
again,
been
we
some
would have.
great
We
gross
think
stuff.
Christina would have been exposed, and we would have definitely seen a lot of surprises if there was 90 minutes of a show. But in an hour, between the fighting and the fire, and the security guard and the stuntman having a fight. I mean, and it's great. Like we didn't even wait for a full a full renovation to get the kitchen. He had to jump right in.
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay, surprise! You have a kitchen. You got your thing."
It was beautiful,
That
though.
was nice.
Yeah, they did a great job. And then he said, Mike, we need you in, Pops, we need you in there. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And once again, Pops just gets on in there. Even in the stress test,
But
Pops
this was my
in there and
concern
doing
because
it.
I thought immediately the thing that popped into my head was they're making the same mistake all over again. They put the Robert in there because he was family, but he had no culinary experience. And they're like, well, that's not working out. Let's throw Pops in there. Who knew? Can Pops cook?
No, but Pops had experience in the business.
Yeah,
That's
he had,
why.
Yeah, he had experience in the business. He
Managing,
knew,
but I don't know. I'm glad
yeah, I mean,
it worked out. He stepped up, and that was
I
great.
figured that he would take more care of it anyway. That was my feeling of whether he was good or not, he would at least show a little bit more care. And understanding. Connie and Robert were just there to pick up a paycheck. They could care less about these people. That's what they were there for.
Don't say that. Sorry.
I'm like, all right,
not
people.
Connie.
Come on.
I'm gonna talk nicely.
Okay. Okay. All right. I apologize about that. No, I don't.
No, you don't.
No,
That would
no,
be
this
like,
is true.
all right, we're replacing Connie with Mia. Mia, you're going to go do security at the bar.
Right.
And I'd be like, okay, you can't do that.
You can't
Stop
do-
fighting.
I talk nicely. That was, I have to say, I loved her. Like, she's up there with one of our better characters.
Yeah,
that
she's
we
amazing.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah,
There
she's
was a lot of
awesome.
quietly amazing people on the show. And
Yes.
again, I just think if we had more time, Christina would have been one of them.
Oh yeah.
If we had
I
more
wanted
time.
I wanted more of her because I knew there was something about
Yeah,
her.
there was definitely there was a lot of skeletons in that closet.
Yeah. So then they make, after all of this, they make Susie. That's her name.
Zuzi.
Zuzi. I can't say the Z, but Zuzi. They make her the bar manager, which is cool because she deserved it. She's been there the longest. She seemed like she knew what was going on. Even in the stress test, she knew what was going on and she was doing her thing, which was great. So they give her that, which then alleviates some of the pressure, I think, from the family, I would think. That's what So then they go and they do that. And then they go into the reveal. And it was the shot exchange, which I liked.
I thought it was
I thought it was
idea.
great because it reminded me of the stock exchange. And then I loved the colors and I loved the lighting that they had for the outside of the bar because it was so eye-catching.
I cannot believe they turned the DMV into what they turned it into.
Well, it
No,
started as
really,
like a
it looked-
cave, and then it became like this well-lit, airy, sterile, clean environment.
The red roof and the sign, and
Yeah.
it looked like architecturally that's what they built this for.
Yeah, and it looked so nice. And then you walk into the bar, and it looked amazing. Amazing. All the way down to like I want to say the stone or metal placard menu that was on the wall. Or was that what that was? I was trying to think what that... It's on the wall. It was like engraved.
I don't know.
Okay. I wrote it down. I can't remember. But it looked looked great. And then also the menus and the drink menus.
Well, the menu that they had to begin with was just a joke.
Best effing burger.
Little
Good.
effing burger.
Yeah.
I
Oh my gosh.
and what was it? The internet fries. I'm like, really, people? So now they have like the classier things. Then they had, since they were making it a shot bar, they had a menu with some shots, and then they had the major menu that had 50 shots on it, which I thought was fantastic. And then they had the California 3-party shot special, which I thought was cool because I've never
those
seen.
were really cool.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before. And that's where the flair came in, and that's what you are paying for. You're paying for the flair and these women were able to do it. And and then they had the Taffer. What was it? The John.
The John Fire.
Yeah, the John
John Fire.
Fire, which was great.
I thought that was awesome.
That
Yeah, it was
was
amazing.
great because when they did the fire, and I didn't expect the green to come out. It looked so pretty and so nice. I'm talking about a John Taffer shot. It's pretty.
It's manly.
It's very manly and
masculine
handsome,
shot.
very handsome. But it was a great shot, and everyone seemed to really pull together. But even in the reveal and going into them bringing all the people in, because I mean that bar was packed.
It was.
That was
but
packed.
that's what they were saying, that it's centrally located to 3 different colleges in the area.
23% of that town is 21 to 34-year-olds. And the median income is 101,000, which is 50,000 over the
what?
average, the normal average. So people spend money, which is great. So you had all these people in there, and they then Pops Chops.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pops Chops,
The
which I
lamb-
like.
the lamb sliders.
The lamb sliders looked great, and I like the fact that they did the yogurt instead of cheese, which is so much healthier for you. That was great. And Pop was really pulling it out in there. I mean, he was burning some stuff, but, I give Pop credits where credit's due. He was doing it, and they kept up. They actually did. Even with him burning and doing whatever, they kept up as busy as they were. Then they were 20 drinks behind.
I know, and that's when Zuzi stepped up and she
Yeah.
started helping them out as a bartender.
Yes. Which, but
But that's what management needs to do when your bartenders
Yeah.
You
aren't
step
keeping
up
up
and
with
you get
things.
in there, of course.
Exactly, but wasn't it I don't know if it's one of your episodes where they were 41 drinks behind?
I've had one where we were a substantial amount.
So 20 drinks behind for me, I was like, yeah, that's not so bad. Because I've seen it when it's worse. And they can just pick it up from there. And they actually started a groove, which was good to see. So it turned out to be a great episode. And they were actually getting along and working together in the end. That's what I really enjoyed, is watching the family then start to work together. Because Pops and Mike were in the kitchen. Diane was, she was doing her thing.
And once you saw even the makeover of the, can we just talk about the makeover?
Yes, let's talk about the makeover.
Her hair, she looked like a different person.
She looked 10 years younger.
Right.
She did. She really looked 10 years younger. I loved the girls' outfits.
They were still kind of hot and racy for the college crowd.
Exactly. But still classy
I can't wait to meet them.
we are so going.
We're so going.
I want to go there. I want to go to the OP.
Well, one of the other ones is closed though now. Weber's Lie, or no, it's not closed. It's a new management.
It's under new management. Oh, the one with the lips.
Yeah.
Ugh, that place was just reminded. Yeah, like
strange.
a bad.
That was a strange one.
Yeah, that was weird. And the guy was stealing from him.
And
they hired him back.
Yeah, it was weird.
That I just never understood. Like someone's stealing from you, blatantly stealing. He actually tells you, and then you hire him back. Then you know what? You like abuse. That's what you like. You are a masochist. You like abuse. So you deserve what you get. And that's the way it is. So we have all this. And John left happy because they seem to be getting along very well.
It seemed like a really successful turnaround.
Yeah, it actually, this to me seemed like one of the better turnarounds. Like, all of them are great turnarounds, but as far as like touching and for me and heartwarming, I like this one a lot. It's the family ones that always
get. It's the family dynamic. It kind of reminded me, like, just the family dynamics of looking back of other episodes that had family, like, characters. That was another dysfunctional family.
They were really in the brother and the sister.
The sister and characters.
That was like awful.
She needed a hug.
It's painful to watch, but when they come around at the end, it's like,
Yep.
Yeah, so there you go, another successful bar rescue. But how are the sales? That is something I did not catch.
They tripled.
Okay, because my thing got cut off.
2 months?
So
tripled, yeah.
That's fantastic. This is good. I'm happy for them. It tripled. It gets them back up to where they were supposed to be, and hopefully they're paying off their debt. That's what I would like to know.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yes, because we're going there.
So before we go, we'll talk about I was down in New Orleans for the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony that Maria was hosting. And I said, there's no way. I told Maria, I know we have a booked schedule. There's no way we're not going by Spirits on Bourbon. There's no way we're not going to see the barber chair and the whole thing.
The chair.
I want to go there so bad.
And I have to say, this is how popular Bar Rescue is. We were walking down the street, and I figured I had to go in, take some pictures, maybe tell the manager, whoever, Maria is here from Extra, and, one of the owners from the show, he's out on the sidewalk. I don't know if he's trying to corral people or he's just kind of out there just getting some air. And he saw us, had to be 40, 50 feet away. And he starts yelling like, oh my God, Bar Rescue, Bar Rescue. I saw you guys were great. He came here. And I'm like, I said, wait. I said, we're not just walking by, we're coming to see you. And I said, I want to surprise John because I want to take a picture of Maria in the chair and send it to him. And so, of course, we do this, and lo and behold, guess who's in New Orleans too but John Taffer.
No!
Yes.
Did he sit in the chair?
Did you know that he was going to be
I didn't know he was there. He was not there in the bar. He was there doing business. And we couldn't get together because I literally had to do that and then get to my next thing, get on a plane. But small world. But the bar looked amazing.
Yeah, and
they're
Brad
doing really well.
Yeah, you didn't see Brad though, did you? Because he's a big proponent of our after show, and he's really cool. There's the two owners. There's Brad, and who was the one that you met?
I think I don't know if it was. I could look it up in my email.
Yeah, because
he texted me or he tweeted at me.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he's always like doing.
But they were so grateful. So excited. The place looked amazing. It was nice. It was really nice to go see it.
And they were the ones who gave money for the Hurricane Sandy. They gave the $5,000 for. I'm getting all chilly.
I know, right?
But they gave the $5,000. They wanted to give back because Bar Rescue did so much for them. So those guys are just awesome, and I just love them.
Good people.
So I think that's it, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then next week, I think we're gonna have a special guest.
Oh, really? Who's a special guest?
Russell Davis is gonna be in the studio
Oh,
with us.
big Russ.
Yeah, he is
What's
a
he-
new resident of Los Angeles.
What's he doing in LA?
He's
Oh,
a new
he's
resident.
living here. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
he's living here. I don't. We were
Ah.
talking back and forth, but I didn't even really get to why he's here. So I'm kind of let's leave it fresh and find out when he gets here on Monday.
Very exciting. Very exciting. All right, Mia, where do we find you?
You find me on Twitter at Mia_M_, and on Instagram at TallMia.
I like the Instagram one better.
I
At
know.
Tall Mia.
I'm working on that.
That's not available on Twitter?
What?
Is that not available on Twitter?
TallMia? I don't know. I haven't looked for that
Oh,
one yet.
shoot. Now
I'm
one of
trying
our
to get
fans is
something
going
bar
to take
related.
it.
And Kevin, where
At
do we find you?
Undergaro, and please tune in to Chasing Maria Menounos on Oxygen, 10 p.m. Tuesdays.
And you can find me, Dorinda Barker, on Twitter at Lula Cherry Films and on Instagram at DorindaB1. So I think that's it for us, guys. And thanks for joining in. Have a great night.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.